What music are you playing?
I am playing no music.
What music are you playing?
I am playing no music.
Yes, that
Plus,
one more
you
time. What
smell.
music are you playing? What music are you playing?
Hmm?
What music are you playing?
Hmm?
What music are you playing?
Hmm?
Music are you playing?
Hmm?
Music are you playing?
Hmm?
What music are you playing? Yo, we need to
Hmm?
make this into a beat. I can already imagine it now.
Nah, nah.
Alright, bro, you stink.
Too annoyed. Too annoyed.
I think you're just bad at the game.
Yeah, but the difference is I wouldn't resort to block.
You
We're
just
sending hate
wouldn't stop
messages
talking,
after a
bro.
match.
I didn't send you a hate message.
I didn't say you did. I said or send hate messages after a match.
Whatever you're talking about, you're just yapping at this point.
Am I?
Yeah?
Okay. So, what's the threshold of yapping and talking? Gotta know.
Your existence is yapping and talking.
Okay, good. So, I'm gonna yap 24/7 since I have a mouth.
Yeah, I know. You're yapping right now.
No, I'm talking. I said a sentence. That's not yapping.
That is exactly what yapping means. Have
Yapping
you ever
means
looked up the
talking.
definition
Yeah, I
of
did.
yapping,
Yeah,
bro?
it means talking. It's talking at annoying, extended periods of time.
You
Yes.
just have an annoying
So saying
voice
a
and,
sentence
you
is
know,
not
when
yapping.
you're talking,
By
it's just
definition.
automatically an
Per your own
annoying
logic.
experience. Or, what's it called?
Well, if you say
What
annoying
word do you
shit
use?
and I have to break it down, of course I'm gonna yap because I have to break the shit down.
Well, you're just yapping.
Yeah, because if you say stupid or annoying shit, I'm gonna have to break it down. You're causing
breaking
this.
it down is stupid.
You're
and
causing
annoying
this.
shit. I'm not
That's not
causing
me
nothing.
thing. That is
That's
a
your
you
own
thing.
fault. No, I didn't tell
So
you
what's
to
causing
yap
me to
and break it
respond?
down. You
So
just
what's causing
yapping.
me to respond? You saying silly, stupid,
Well,
or
if I'm
annoying
talking,
shit.
we're having
That
a
is not me.
conversation. You're yapping.
So you're yapping by definition too.
You're yapping. I'm not yapping.
You're yapping about me yapping. So that's a
You don't even
paradox
know how
right
to
there,
spell
buddy.
yap. You're the only one getting enjoyed, bro. I can hear it in your tone.
I'm the
I can
only
hear
getting
the
what?
I can hear the red Angry Bird eyebrows in your tone.
That's gonna be hard to tell through the mic since I have autism. So
I know, man. Fortunate for you.
people assume I talk sarcastic, even though it's just my normal voice. It happens.
My middle name is Autism.
Your enemy call
Okay.
up a primeval. They kill it. They win this.
For sure, for sure.
My brother's sister mother has autism, so
Why are you yapping? And watch, you're gonna say I'm not yapping. I'm saying a sentence.
it's like
Which
because I
is true.
can. If you listen to me the first time,
I did.
you know, instead of trying to talk over me. But
I heard what you said while I
you
was
just
talking.
keep trying to piss me off. It's not gonna
I'm not trying to piss you off.
I
You're
just blocked
pissing
you
yourself
again.
off. That was a you thing,
It's
not me.
nothing.
Bank and get that primeval out.
Yeah, that was a me thing.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
blocked you.
I know. I wonder why.
You're
I wonder
just
what the
stating
reason
the
was.
obvious, dog. Not going anywhere.
I wonder what the
because
reason
you're
was.
running
See, now
in
you're
place.
talking over me. You're not listening.
You're running in place. I'm still
Your ears are
talking. I'm still
closed.
continuing the shit
I
I
know.
started.
So that's
saying.
yapping, right? Got you. Boom.
It's not yapping.
Oh, it's not
I
yapping.
was
That's called, now
continuing
that's called
what I was
denial.
saying,
Do you know
but
what
you're
denial
trying to
means?
talk over me. But you can keep yapping, bro.
You can still win this. Burn
Okay,
that
keep yapping.
primeval to the ground.
Go ahead.
Keep yapping, bro. You can take my insult because you think it's gonna do something against me.
No, you're saying I'm yapping by the definition.
You keep doing that, bro.
So you can yap.
Yourself.
Good. You're not excluded from your own
Holy
definition.
shit, that guy sucks. I am excluded from my own definition.
That doesn't make
by
sense.
Definition.
Incoherent.
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make
You
sense.
just suck
Now,
at
that's the,
life.
if it makes sense to you, that's denial. Obviously.
It makes
And
sense
you're
to me
delusional.
because you
I know it
can't
makes
make
sense to you because it's called opinions. Obvious.
It's not,
So I mean, I am not listening because I'm
okay.
responding.
It's a definition, and by definition, yes, you are a fucking yapper.
I don't think you look up what a yapper meant either. To be honest, I looked it up actually.
Nobody cares. Nobody asked. L plus ratio. Get off deck, yapper.
But you
Your
implied
allies
it.
invading the other side.
Same shit about the I didn't get the loot, but you did. You fucking imposed that. Same thing.
Primeval compromised. Focus your fire. Your allies back with 2 bags for the more. opposing team's about to win. Invaders here. Brace yourself. The enemy team's about to win this. Get moving.
That shit did not just do 15 damage.
I gotta call it. Enemy team melted their primeval.
Let's just stop it. Are you there or are you muted, dog? Or did you mute me? AFK, gotcha. Gotcha. Double chili cheeseburger? What the fuck?
There's only one way that a restaurant with food is this messy stays in business for 80 years by tasting absolutely delicious. This is the original location of the world-famous Original Tommy, which has become a cultural landmark and beloved for their famous chili. Here's everything you gotta try there. You'll order at their walk-up counter and it's out. But they have their
Man who plays a 15 kilo 17 string bass regrets his life decision. What a shocker. So this is the unmistakable ZZ Top featuring Billy Gibbons, Dusty Hill, and the only member without a beard, Frank Beard. Together, Elwood Francis took up the bass following Dusty's death 3 years ago. Now, ZZ Top have always had some wacky incidents. You're travelling back in time here.
Ding, 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 ding.
After Elwood joined,
Cabal on the field.
Chinese made bass into his setup and explained to Guitar World
Welcome
magazine
to
that
Gambit.
having to use it
Legend says the Cabal Empire holds vast Athenaeum worlds full of shiny tech.
Is he tarnishing the legacy of Dusty Hill, or are they bigger?
Transmat ready. Lock and load, hotshot. Get those motes to the bank.
I think I know what I should play. Hold up. Okay, got the video ready. So stand by. I'll play it next. I'll play it probably next match or after this match.
Hostiles inbound at the beach.
You know you should play?
Oh, you're here.
By yourself.
Interesting. I am. I said, you know what you should play? By yourself. Got him. Got him. I don't get it. Like, why don't you follow your own basis? Follow your own definition. If I say a sentence and that's yapping and you go on and run on sentences and that's not yapping, I don't know. I can't help you, dog. I cannot help you. I don't know if the chat's gonna work here, actually. I should probably test that. I forgot to. I blindly started a stream. Let me exit this real quick and test it. Test. The shit don't work out well. I just gotta play minimized. Okay, it works, thank goodness. Full screening.
Hostiles at the trees.
I don't know what was up with him today. Whatever. Okay.
Got eyes on a high-value target. Track it down. Hostiles inbound at the beach. High-value target neutralized. You're being invaded. Find them before they find you. Portals primed. Go make a mess.
Yeah, ain't oh wait, I picked up what he dropped.
Incoming wave at the ruins.
Honestly, I could deposit that too. Oh, they're rambling again, yeah. Tenderizing me or
Enemy
something.
invader down. Free to hunt.
Yeah, tenderizing meat or something.
Portals up. Allies headed to the other side. You're close. Bank and summon that primeval. Hostiles at the trees. Primeval's here. Kill it and win this. Your allies down, but they took someone with them. Envoys in the dirt. Now kill the big guy. Opposing team's got a primeval. Kill yours now. You're in the lead. Take down that primeval, and this Gambit's yours. Envoys in the dirt. Now kill the big guy.
Well, it's the same guy that said you smell. Hello, Crispy.
Allies headed to the other side.
L gameplay. I don't know. I'm not sure what you want me to say. What, L teamwork Crucible matches? I don't know. L complaining?
Envoy's dead. Kill the primeval. That primeval's not long for this world. Burn it down and take this Gambit. Watch your back. Invader incoming. Yes, ma'am. That's what I
Alright.
call hunting.
Regular W Gambit match completion. Anyway, time to play the video that I said I was gonna play.
Haven't seen shooting like that since an Iron Lady named
That was there. Now, if there's one thing I
Dark
love.
Age was wild time.
Okay, Crispy.
Good
Cringe.
work.
Now, if there's one thing I love discussing topics like religious views and shit like that, man. And I started watching Dr. Shame again. You talking to a water balloon? I don't know what that is, or that means in this context, but okay. But I'm gonna play this video, actually. This is a re-upload. They took it down for some reason.
This is Joshua Feuerstein, backwards cap enthusiast.
Actually, no, let me stop. Now. Dr. Shame. S-H-A-Y-M. You're probably gonna be like, who asked? Okay, anyway. Yeah, he was a pretty heavy political, like, talks about political things, political topics, whatnot. But he was back in the day, man. Some of the shit got taken down because of the topics that he was talking about. But this is my favorite video to prove God isn't real, challenge accepted. So that's a great idea, who asked? For sure. Anyway, but I'm gonna play it though.
This is Joshua Feuerstein, backwards cap enthusiast, Fred Durst lookalike, and wannabe televangelist. He has proposed a challenge to anyone who can disprove the existence of God, and offers a $100,000 prize. He even came up with a cute little diagram to illustrate his challenge. Now, this video will cover a lot of topics I've been wanting to make videos about for a long time, but I've never had the impetus to do so until now, so thank you, Joshua Feuerstein. I shall address the rest of this video directly to you.
I'm muted.
Thank you for promising to give me $100,000 as motivation. I'm just ever so confident that you will keep your word. I may make references to your video, but I won't show your video. This is because I know how wannabe televangelists are wont to make false TMCA claims in violation of the Fair Use Clause of United States copyright law. So if this video does get a TMCA claim put on it, I will be able to say that it was a false one. And just so nobody can accuse me of taking your words out of context, I will provide a link to your video so everyone can watch it. I'm assuming you won't take it down anytime soon. So you present your case like this. The big circle represents all that there is to know. The tiny dot represents what we do know. Your point is that if we know so little, then how can we claim to know that God doesn't exist somewhere in the unknown?
Okay, I think he covers it later on in the video. But yeah, the dot with the big circle and the big circle representing what we don't know is kind of a weird argument, because the circle can be drawn any way, shape, or form. So in a way, shape, or form is subjective. Like, no circles is going to be the same. And if that represents the knowledge that we don't know, how do we know that's the knowledge that we don't know? How do we know the dot is that small? We don't know. You know, but it's whatever. I'm going to continue now.
Well, a number of reasons, which I will get to in due time. But first, let's go over why this argument fails. The circle of knowledge is an old argument. It has never been a good one.
I figured.
This circle of knowledge argument is not a new one. The fact that you're making it now is proof that you've heard it before. So you know that it's an old argument, and it isn't convincing to any skeptic, but you chose to make it anyway because you realized your followers probably haven't heard it before, because you're only interested in preaching to the choir to reaffirm your beliefs and theirs. They haven't heard it before because they don't go out of the way to learn things. They just like to be led around and be told what to think. You know this, and I must say, you have become quite the cult leader, Josh. But unfortunately for you, not everyone is an uncritical idiot. And those who aren't uncritical idiots are going to call you out. That is exactly what I'm going to do. Now, onto the reasons why this argument fails. This circle of knowledge thing doesn't make sense for 4 reasons that I can think of just off the top of my head. 1. If I know something trivial, for example that there's a cockroach running across the floor in my bathroom, that's knowledge. If I later recall that memory, then I have knowledge that I possess such knowledge, and have therefore just spontaneously generated knowledge in my own head. That's the problem with trying to chart out knowledge on a sheet of paper. It isn't some sort of measurable quantity, it's an abstract concept. 2. Knowledge is stuff that we know. If something isn't known, then it isn't knowledge. Even potential knowledge isn't knowledge until it's known, so technically, we already possess all knowledge, by definition. 3. It's fallacious for you to ask somebody to prove that something doesn't exist when it hasn't been proven to exist in the first place. Do you also expect me to prove that leprechauns don't exist? 4. Let's just pretend for a moment that this circle of knowledge thing does make sense, just for the sake of argument. Theists don't know that God exists. I mean, they claim they do, but they don't. If they did, they'd be able to prove it, and they wouldn't feel the need to shift the burden of proof and say things like, you can't prove he doesn't exist, which, by the way, is no different than saying, you can't prove that leprechauns don't exist. So if the big circle contains all that is unknown, and the little dot contains all that we do know, then theists are inclined to know something outside of the little dot, which means you're breaking your own rules.
True.
Let's just ignore all that. How do we know that God does not exist somewhere in the unknown? Well, there's another problem. Before you can either prove or disprove something, you need to have a coherent definition of what that thing is. I might be able to disprove one definition, but since God is such an ill-defined concept, you could always just say, that's not what God is this, that, this other thing, and move the goalposts. And that's exactly what I expect you would do if you decide to respond to this, which I'm guessing you won't because you're not interested in discussion. You're only interested in jumping through the hoop for your fundamentalist Christian fanbase and tell them what they want to hear because you know that they aren't in the least bit interested in having their narrow-minded worldview challenged because they know that their beliefs can't stand up to even cursory scrutiny. But I digress. The definition of God. Since you're a Christian, as well as a creationist and a Bible literalist from what I've seen, I'm going to assume that the definition of God you're going by is the God described in the Christian Bible. So what is the definition of the Christian God? One that is 1. Supernatural, and immaterial. 2. Omniscient, all-knowing. 3. Omnipotent, all-powerful. 4. Omnibenevolent, all-good. Let's dissect every aspect of this definition. 1. God is supernatural. The problem with proposing a supernatural cause for anything is that supernatural things are not testable or observable. When something is testable or observable, it cannot be considered supernatural anymore. Supernatural things are not scientifically provable, by definition, because they are immaterial. We do not know that immaterial things exist, but we do know that material things do. So when proposing a cause for something, even if we don't know what that cause is, it is only logical to assume that it must be material, which is to say, not supernatural. Since the God you believe in is immaterial, literally anything you can attribute to him can also be attributed to anything else that anybody could just make up. You can say something was made by God, but I could just say it was made by Krishna, and somebody else could say it was Zeus, and somebody else still could say it was a flying spaghetti monster. And each explanation would be equally valid. If your explanation for something can be replaced with "a wizard did it" and still make just as much sense, then it is a useless explanation.
Sure.
That is why it's called the argument from ignorance fallacy. You're alive because of God is an argument from ignorance. The universe had to have been created by God is an argument from ignorance. You have morals because of God is an argument from ignorance. All of these things which you claim to be evidence for your God can just as easily be claimed as evidence for any other God, and any argument which can be used to support any position is not a good argument. That is why nothing you claim to be evidence for your God can be taken as evidence for your God. It could just as easily be taken as evidence for anything. Now maybe there is a higher power. There's no proof that there is, and I can't prove there isn't. I also can't prove that leprechauns don't exist, but that doesn't matter. What matters is whether or not the higher power that you believe in exists. We may not be able to prove whether or not something supernatural exists by testing or observing it, but we can determine whether or not something is logically possible. We know that it is logically impossible for certain things to exist, even in the unknown. For example, a square circle is logically impossible. Many Christians define God in such a way that we can conclude that he is also logically impossible, as I will explain. It remains possible that there could be an entity with extreme power and intelligence that could qualify as what we may call a God. But if such a God exists, it isn't the one that fits the Christian definition. 2. God is omniscient. The problem with omniscience is the idea of free will, which is important because the free will argument is the line one defense against the problem of evil, which I will be talking about later on when we get to omnibenevolence. If God is all-knowing, then that means he knows everything that we will ever do, say, or think.
Now, what he's about to bring up is what I thought about for quite some time. If God is all-knowing, if God knew Satan was going to go against him, if God knew people were going to go against him, or if he knew Jesus was going to die whenever he sent them down, why let it happen? The fact that it let it happen, if he's all-knowing, means that it's evil. Like, by definition, that's an evil thing to do. But what's morally evil to God? You know what I'm saying? If he's the creator, he created the things. I think he knows what's right and what's wrong, and he draws a line there. You know what I'm saying? So it's whatever.
Basically, our fates are predetermined. So if God is all-knowing, then according to your own theology, we have no free will. In fact, there are several verses in the Bible that say God has predetermined our fates, and even whether or not we will believe in Jesus and gain salvation. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, and whom he called, them he also justified, and whom he justified, them he also glorified. Romans 8:29-30.
Yeah, so the no free will thing, that's probably going to be the case, because a freaking brain farting ban. The no free will thing is probably going to be the case because if he predetermines our fates and we can't change it no matter what we do, what's the point of doing it? What's the point of doing the actions that we do, causing the things that we do? It almost seems like there's a reason people create evil because of that knowledge. I think I died. I fucked up that. But anyway, I'm gonna let him elaborate.
James Version. According as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Jesus Christ to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. Ephesians 1:4-5, King James Version. And for this cause, God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. But we are bound to give thanks always to God for you, brethren beloved of the Lord, because God hath from the beginning chosen you to salvation, through sanctification of the Spirit and belief of the truth. 2 Thessalonians 2:11-13, King James Version. Who hath saved us and called us with an holy calling, not according to our works, but according to his own purpose and grace, which was given us in Christ Jesus before the world began. 2 Timothy 1:9, King James Version. For there are certain men crept in unawares, who were before of old ordained to this condemnation, ungodly men, turning the grace of our God into lasciviousness, and denying the only Lord God, and our Lord Jesus Christ. Jude 1:4, King James Version. If the Bible is to be believed, then according to your own theology, we have no free will. There's also another problem. Omniscience itself is paradoxical.
It is.
Let's say you are an all-knowing God. You might think you know everything, but if there's anything you don't know, then you aren't aware that you don't know it. Thus, you don't know that you know everything. So there's something you don't know, therefore, you aren't all-knowing. There's also the fact that this idea that God is all-knowing is in conflict with some fundamental concepts in Christianity. If God knows everything, then he knows what we want. So what's the point in praying?
Right.
If life is a test and God already knows the outcome of the test, then what's the point in life? And is God really all-knowing? If he knew the serpents would tempt Adam and Eve into eating from the tree of knowledge, and he didn't want them to, then why did he put the tree where they could reach it? In fact, why have that tree there at all? And this is beside the point, but Adam and Eve didn't know right from wrong until after they ate the fruit. So
Yeah, true. That's true. And this reminds me, I did a similar stream for Honor as an Atheist, and I let Owen Morgan do a perspective from a video. Not let him, but it was a video that Owen Morgan covered. Same thing about Adam and Eve. And it's kind of a jerk thing to do, which I don't disagree with. It is a jerk thing to do. If you know the shit was going to happen, you let it happen anyway, and you let them do it, and you punish them for it. It almost sounds like you're a gaslighter, you know what I'm saying? Fucking gaslighter. It's like, but no one told you to by deal. No, I'm kidding. But still, point still stands though.
even though God told them not to, they couldn't have understood that was wrong to disobey him because they didn't know right from wrong until it was too late. God himself designed them not to know right from wrong. So doesn't that make it his own fault?
It does.
How could he punish them for something that was his own fault? I mean, if you drill a bunch of holes in a boat and then try to sail in it, you can't blame the boat when it starts to sink. Wow, what a plot hole. It's almost as if fallible humans made this story up.
It feels like Greek mythology to
3.
me. Like,
God is omnipotent. Could God make a stone so big that even he couldn't lift it? If he couldn't make a stone that big, then he isn't omnipotent because he couldn't make a stone that big. If he could, then he isn't omnipotent because he couldn't lift such a stone. This is called the omnipotence paradox, and it demonstrates that it is logically impossible for something to be truly omnipotent. Apologists try to explain this away by saying God can't go against his own nature, and thus can't do the logically impossible. For example, he couldn't make a square circle, make 2 + 2 = 5, or make a stone so big that even he couldn't lift it. The problem with this is that it's basically an admission that God is not omnipotent. If he were, then he should be able to go against his own nature. This is why omnipotence is impossible. If there's anything at all that you cannot do, no matter what it is, then you are not omnipotent, by definition. Besides, why shouldn't God be able to go against his own nature? Where in the Bible does it say you can't? It seems like you're just arbitrarily imposing limitations to your own God for the sake of convenience. So if God doesn't go against his own nature, then he doesn't do the logically impossible simply because he can't, meaning he isn't omnipotent. 4. God is omnibenevolent. The first problem with the idea that the Christian God is omnibenevolent is that if he's all good, then he is incapable of evil.
of course he
The
does.
problem with that is it conflicts with the idea that he's omnipotent. An all-powerful being capable of anything should be able to do both good and evil, and if he can only do one, then he's not omnipotent. But I've already established that he isn't, so let's move on. The second problem with this idea that God is omnibenevolent is that he plainly isn't.
Fuck.
I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil.
Yeah.
I, the Lord, do all these things. Isaiah 45:7, King James Version. This is God speaking in the first person, outright stating that he is responsible for evil. Even if you go by other translations which avoid using the phrase create evil, the argument still stands. If God does everything, then he does both good things and bad things. And Christians do believe that he is responsible for everything. An omnibenevolent being does nothing but good things by definition. So if God does even one bad thing, then he cannot be considered omnibenevolent by definition. And if he does everything, then it stands to reason that he does bad things. But we don't even have to speculate. The Bible is full of examples of God doing bad things. Let's look at the story of Job. This story implies that Satan can only harm people if God allows him to. And that's exactly what happens in this story. Satan makes a bet with God that he can make Job lose his faith. So God lets Satan take away his home and all of his possessions, kill his family, and afflict him with diseases. Ultimately, Job doesn't lose his faith when God shows up and outright tells him that he has the right to do all kinds of horrible things to people just because he's God. Remember, God knew Satan would do this and even gave him permission to. So if the things Satan does in this story can be considered bad, isn't the fact that God gave him permission also bad? By the way, the fact that God eventually replaced Job's family with a new one doesn't alter the fact that he allowed Satan to kill his old one.
Yeah, and I mentioned that before you mentioned that too. Because I've seen the video before, but still, this video kind of, it brings back some good old memories, man. Hold up.
Here's another one. God destroys the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. He does this because he doesn't like how the people in these cities are just having sex with whomever they want. Or at least that's what most modern Christians boil it down to. The Bible makes it clear that nobody made it out alive except for Lot and his family. The problem with this story is that God just indiscriminately destroyed 2 cities full of people. Sure, you can argue that most of them were evil. But I find it hard to imagine that every single person in both cities deserved to die. What about the children? I don't think there would have been a whole lot of 2-year-olds participating in gay orgies. What about the story where God inflicts plagues on Egypt? He does this as punishment against Pharaoh for not allowing the Hebrews to go free. There are a few problems with this. 1. The Bible plainly describes God as hardening Pharaoh's heart to keep him from letting them go, so it's not like Pharaoh even had a choice. And 2. The plague afflicts thousands of innocent people. I'm sure not all of them were slave owners, especially not the thousands of firstborn children who were killed in the final plague. Then of course, there's all the stories where God sanctions the enslavement, rape, and genocide of the Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, Amorites, Amalekites, etc. My favorite example is Numbers 31, which blatantly describes Moses leading an attack on a Midianite city, killing all the kings, burning the city to the ground, stealing all their stuff, killing all of the civilians, including men, boys, and non-virgin women, but keeping the young girls for themselves. More than half of this chapter is spent describing how they divided up the spoils. And this was all sanctioned by God. Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. But all the women children that have not known man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. Numbers 31, 17-18. King James.
God sounds like a motherfucking sadistic pimp. Let him be a player and do that?
James Version.
Interesting.
So according to your own
right.
with him, keep alive for yourselves. Numbers 31, 17-18. King James Version.
I have a bad habit of like pausing at the wrong time and cutting off the verse that they say. That way you can take a look at it yourself. I'm not sure if it's New Testament or Old Testament. It did say King James Version, so I don't really look into it. I used to as a kid whenever I was forced to go to church or whatnot. But outside of that, I haven't really looked into the Bible like that since. And be the judge of it yourselves, you know what I'm saying?
So according to your own theology, God does bad things all the time. Thus, according to your own theology, he is not omnibenevolent. Now, an apologist might argue that morality is defined by God, and the things he does are automatically good simply because he does them, and so our human moral standards can't be applied to him. The problem with that is if you believe that things he does are good by definition, then you also believe all the slavery, rape, and indiscriminate killings he either caused or endorsed are also good. So tell me, do you believe it's good to stone to death disobedient children, as commanded by God in Deuteronomy 21:18-21? Do you think we should kill people for doing yard work on Sunday as commanded in Exodus 31:15? If you don't agree with this, then you are applying your own standard of morality and disagreeing with God. And don't give me this excuse of, that was the Old Testament, Christians go by the New Testament. You're so ready and willing to cherry pick and quote the Old Testament when it suits you, but as soon as somebody points out the inconvenient parts you say, oh, we don't go by that part of the Bible. You believe in the 10 Commandments, don't you? Well, guess what? Those are in the Old Testament. Also, read Matthew 5:17-19. Jesus himself said, "Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven." You ignore the things that your God says. You disagree with his morality because even you don't think that he's all good. Well, let's just ignore all that and pretend that the God described by Christian theology really is omnibenevolent. We still have a problem. You might even call it a problem of evil. The problem of evil basically states that a God who is omnibenevolent would want to prevent all evil. A God who is omniscient would know how, and a God who is omnipotent would be capable. So if an omnibenevolent, omniscient, and omnipotent God exists, then evil should not. But according to your own theology, it does. Now, the common apologist argument against the problem of evil is that evil is the result of human free will, and God doesn't interfere with free will. But I don't find the free will argument compelling for 6 reasons.
Okay.
1. Nowhere in the Bible does it say we have free will. 2. It seems erroneous to call it free will if we can be punished for exercising it. 3. Those who are victims of evil have their free will violated. 4. Not all evil
That was
is the
an
result
evil
of human free
boss.
will. Is God not responsible for diseases and natural disasters? What about necessary evil? For example, if you have no choice but to kill one person to save another. 5. God states outright that he is responsible for evil in Isaiah 45:7. 6. Even if we do have free will, it doesn't matter because there are verses in the Bible that demonstrate God is ready and willing to violate it. And God said unto him in a dream, "Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine." Genesis 26-7, King James Version. And the Lord said unto Moses,
No.
"When thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders before Pharaoh,
Yeah.
which I have put in thine hand. But I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go."
The blockers must die.
Exodus 4:21, King James Version. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, "Wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me." Numbers 22:32, King James Version. And if the prophet be deceived when he hath spoken a thing, I the Lord have deceived that prophet, and I will stretch out my hand upon him, and I will destroy him from the midst of my people Israel. Ezekiel 14:9, King James Version. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. 2 Thessalonians 2:11-12, King James Version. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? God forbid. For he saith to Moses, "I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion." So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that sheweth mercy. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, "Even for the same purpose I have raised thee up, that I might shew my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. Therefore hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will he hardeneth." Thou wilt say then unto me, "Why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will?" Nay but, O man, who art thou that repliest against God? Shall the thing formed say unto him that formed it, "Why hast thou made me thus?" Hath not the potter power over the clay, or the same lump to make one vessel unto honor, and another unto dishonor? Romans 9:14-21, King James Version. So I guess we don't have free will, at least not according to your own theology. So that argument can't really be used to excuse the problem of evil, and your God is either unwilling or unable to prevent evil. Thus, he is not omnibenevolent. Conclusion.
Uh-oh. I'm
Now,
going
since
in,
the
I don't-
God you believe in has self-contradictory characteristics, he is like a square circle, impossible to exist. Although it remains possible that some sort of powerful entity which may qualify as a god could exist, the one that you believe in could not even in the unknown. Now, I will close this with one final statement. I seriously doubt that you ever had any sincere intention to give away $100,000 to anyone who could prove you wrong. I doubt that you're even willing to listen to anyone who tries. This whole thing is nothing but an attention-grabbing stunt. I don't even believe that you have $100,000 just laying around. If you did, you would have already donated it to charity. I mean, that would be the Christian thing to do, right? Jesus says that's what you should do in Luke 12:33. And there are a lot of starving children in the world. If you're such a good Christian, why don't you give that money away to the people who need it? I mean, you do have the money, don't you? You're not a liar, are you? Surely not. Lying is a sin. It says so right there in the Ten Commandments. You're not going to break God's law, are you? I mean, you're not a liar and a hypocrite, are you? So where's the money, Josh? Why haven't you given it away yet, Josh? Why aren't you acting like the Christian you claim to be, Josh? Is this all just for show, Josh? Are you doing this just to further yourself as an internet celebrity, Josh? Where's the money, Josh? Huh? Show it to me, Josh. Where's the money?
Your allies down, but they took out 2 opponents. Nice.
The bubbles are protecting him. You're kidding. But yeah, all around interesting video. I recommend looking into it. For sure, for sure. You know, I forgot that anti-barrier pulse rifle. I should probably use that more often, huh?
Your back. Invader incoming. Enemy invader.
You got him, okay.
Hey, you can't blame them for trying. Your allies invading the other side. The enemy team's about to win this.
Come on, stop him.
Get moving.
We could possibly do this if we do this.
Envoys eliminated. Focus on the prime evil. Your allies down, but they took someone with them. You're in the lead. Watch your back. Invader incoming. Sometimes I forget you've killed a god or two.
I might play Onslaught after this too. Yeah, I'll play some Onslaught after this too. Match is over. I'm gonna see the stats, then I'm gonna end the stream.
An iron lady named Aphrodite ruined my bar. Dark Age was wild times. Good work.
Okay. Oh, I don't want to inspect them. Returned. Get me out of here. Alright, goodbye, stream.